Well, Game of Thrones episode 3 is here, and if that's not the greatest goddamn episode of television I have ever seen, then I don't know what is. What's up, guys? Welcome to another Game of Thrones episode recap. They're not listing the names of these episodes until like, I think a day or two after the episode airs. So I don't know what to call this episode. So right now, I'll just call it fucking awesome. That's what it is. One of the greatest battle scenes I think I've ever seen put to film. And this entire episode is pretty much a battle from start to finish. Jumping into the beginning of the episode, there's this like 10 minutes of like tension before the battle begins. And you get this nice cadence with it too. The music, it's more of like a tribal type feel with a dark edge. But we've all heard about the legend of this episode, that it's supposed to be one of the greatest battle scenes ever filmed. And after watching it, it sure is. Wow. It's a lot to process. I guess the first thing I want to talk about is battle scenes in general, because there's a lot of great ones out there. Helm's Deep really comes to mind. Helm's Deep, to me, I think is one of the greatest battle scenes ever filmed, of course, from Lord of the Rings: Two Towers. And I got a vibe of that battle from this battle, actually. This one is longer than Helm's Deep, I believe. Battle scenes are great when the focus is on the characters, because we've seen a lot of battle scenes that seem to last for 20 minutes, and then after so long, you kind of start getting bored. Well, with this particular episode, they kind of broke it off into character segments throughout. What is this character doing during the battle? What is this character doing during the battle? And so on. And I think that's how they keep your interest. And it worked so well. Now, first off, once they're getting ready for battle, you got Melisandre coming up. This is the first time we've seen her, I think, since last season. And she comes up and really just wants to, I guess, lend her abilities to the troops. And she lights up the Dothraki swords with flames. And so this is kind of a way to get the troops riled up, maybe a sense of hope. And so, they go out into battle and we think, oh, we're going to put up a good fight. This is going to be great, right? Nope. As soon as they get out there, we see the flames just start to disappear one by one. And that really sets up how dangerous of a threat the White Walkers are. And we already know how dangerous of a threat, because we've had, that Hard Home episode where out of the blue, they just attack like at the last 15 minutes of the episode and just completely take over the episode. So we know the opponent that we're dealing with. We've built up to this over the last 7 seasons. Then after that, after the Dothraki are taken out, then it is just a complete slaughter. Our favorite characters, they're doing everything they can to hold these guys back. You got Jorah Mormont. You got Lady Mormont in there fighting, trying to prove herself. I'm going to talk about her in a minute here. Of course, you got Arya, the Hound. I mean, pretty much everybody's in there giving it their all. Brienne of Tarth fighting alongside Jaime. And what makes this episode so effective is there is a moment in the episode where I really started getting scared for everybody. Because this is Game of Thrones. Anything can happen. So at one point I was thinking, what if they kill everybody? And then we're just left with Cersei against the White Walkers. It's a possibility in this show. If you remember back to the Red Wedding, nobody thought that Robb Stark and his mother were going to get killed and the baby right there all in one. So, like I said, anything's possible. So I was really scared for a moment there. Now, there's quite a few characters that do die in this episode. Lady Mormont, I think, has the most heroic death. She's attacked by one of the giants, the giant White Walkers. From the, because if you remember the Wildlings, one of the Wildling giants was taken over in that episode of Hard Home. And so it picks her up, and right before it squeezes the life out of her, she stabs the thing in the eye with her dragon glass. And so it's such a heroic end to her. And I loved the spunk that character had. The Hound is interesting in this one because we all know that the Hound is afraid of fire. And this whole battle is just fire. And the Hound doesn't really answer to anybody. And so at one point he just cowers. And then the one thing that really kicks him out of it is when he sees Arya fighting. And so I guess he figures if Arya's fighting, then I got to jump in there and I got to fight too. And don't worry, we're going to get to Arya. Oh my God, we're going to get to Arya. But before we get to Arya, we got some dragon battles in this thing. And right at the beginning, you got both dragons, Dany and Jon's dragons. And they are putting the entire White Walker army in flames. And so it's another one of those false senses of hope, which are the best battles. You know, when you get that false sense of hope, ooh, our heroes might win this thing. But then we see the power of the adversary. But right about the middle of the episode, we see the Night King, and he's actually on his dragon, you know, the one that he took in season 7. And so we got this great battle between, you know, both dragons, actually. And it's not easy for Dany's dragons because they're in the midst of this, like, blizzard, this snowstorm. And so they can't see anything, and then, you know, they're bumping into each other. And then they just slam right into the Night King dragon, and then we get this big fight between the two. Now I want to talk about misdirection, because that last scene, what they did with Arya, I didn't see it coming. Nobody saw it coming, because she's in this episode, she is really kicking ass. You know, there's quite a few scenes in this where all the skills that she's learned up to this point, she's putting to good use in this fight. But then there's a whole section where we leave Arya and we're focused on Jon Snow. We're focused on Theon Greyjoy. All this other stuff's going on. And then Jon Snow, you know, he's pretty much fighting the White Walker dragon. Theon is being approached by the Night King, who kills Theon. And so at this point, I was like, how in the hell are they going to get out of this? There's no way. They're pretty much dead. We see all the White Walkers on Sam, on Brienne of Tarth, on Jaime. Jorah's already dead, so you're thinking there's no, how are they going to get out of this? And then boom, right at the last second, Arya comes from behind. He reaches around and grabs her. And still, you know, I think she's dead. But then she drops the knife, the dragon glass, gets him right in the side, and then Arya saves the day. And I fell out of my chair. I had to catch a breath of fresh air after this episode. It was that insane. And probably one of the best episodes of Game of Thrones ever. And this wasn't about strategy. This was about survival. And it was directed in the best way possible. So anyway, guys, that is my recap for the battle scene, the big battle scene from Season 8 for Game of Thrones. We know that in the next episode, we're going to have to deal with Cersei. And that's going to be interesting because that's going to be much more strategic based. And I'm really curious to see how it all unfolds. So post in the comments your thoughts on this episode. Were you freaking blown away by it like I was? Is this your favorite battle scene in television history like mine? Let me know in the comments. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Free For All Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.